We beat Spyro 1 and 2 Reignited without Spyro's wings, but he's not done yet. There's still one last traditional Spyro game left, and it might just be the most interesting Spyro wingless run we've ever done. So, can you beat Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon Reignited without gliding? Let's find out. Here are the rules, but first, I've played a lot of Spyro games, and I've seen some seriously strange things. Things that I can't explain. You might have a shot at explaining them though, thanks to this video's sponsor, Boot.dev. Coding can be interesting, but let's face it, learning how to code is boring. Boot.dev knows this, so when they created an online tool to help teach coding, their priority was to make it fun. Now the learning process is treated like an RPG. You earn experience points and complete side quests as you go. It's divided by the different coding languages, which includes Python, Go, JavaScript, and more. Each course is paced perfectly so that even newbies like me can understand everything I'm being tasked with. I took this opportunity to get some experience with Unix terminals. It's so satisfying learning something that you've seen be used so many times but never understood. And I don't think I ever would have got my head around it if it weren't for the simplicity of these courses. If I keep this up, maybe I could pursue a career in back-end development, which can earn you a salary of up to $100,000 a year nowadays. The price is right too. All their courses are completely free to read and watch for guests. A paid membership unlocks the fun RPG features and progress tracking. To get started, please see the link in the description or the pinned comment and use my code NG+ at checkout for 25% off your first payment. That's a saving of £155 a year. Once again, use code NG+ at checkout to save £155 a year and start your coding adventure today. Back to the rules. Rule number 1, no gliding or flying. Rule number 2, glitches are fine, just no hacking. And finally, rule number 3, once we defeat the sorceress, we win! Some admin though, entering portals makes Spyro fly during the load screens, so we're not counting that. Even though we're allowing glitches, they will only be used as a last resort. And of course, we will be aiming for the maximum possible completion percentage. This means we want as much treasure and as many dragon eggs as we can get. Also, this is a sequel video as we've already done this challenge on both Spyro 1 and 2 Reignited, so I suggest watching both of those videos first, as it provides some explanation to what you'll see in this video. Just like last time, we will be using the 99 Lives cheat code just to save time. The first homeworld is Sunrise Spring. We're going to try and complete as much as we can here before entering any of the portals. We can reach almost everything in Sunrise Spring. We can swim and head bash straight away in Spyro 3, so that is 3 out of our 5 eggs, and over 300 out of 400 gems. The only place we can't reach is the cave that Hunter jumps to during the gliding tutorial. However, there is a method of getting up there without gliding. If we stand at the bottom in the right position, jump up and then bonk into the wall at the right angle, Spyro can bounce backwards and just get inside the cave. From here we can fall down and grab all the gems inside the cave, which is all 400 gems in the homeworld. There is a flight power-up down here, but that would be against our rules. The only other way out of this cave is a whirlwind, but in order to stay consistent with our other previous Spyro wingless challenge runs, we will be banning whirlwinds. This means we're soft locked down here, but we can just save and quit the game from the pause menu and then reload that save file to spawn back at the starting position. Now, there are 2 eggs left here. One of them requires the flight power up, and the other one is given to us by Hunter after finishing the gliding tutorial. The issue with the gliding tutorial is that if Spyro touches the ground after Hunter jumps over into the cave, Hunter jumps back to where he was. The only way to get Hunter to jump in the cave again is to talk to him again. But the only way we have of getting up to the cave is to fall down to the ground and use the bonk method. We thought this meant we couldn't get the egg from Hunter, but after some trial and error, we found a way. After Hunter jumps over, we can charge jump over to the very right side of the cave. Standing down here doesn't make Hunter jump back over, so we just need to bonk our way up from here, and we can get the egg. If you're wondering why we don't just use the swim in air glitch like we did on the PS1, that's because the swim in air glitch no longer works works in Reignited. I've heard that it used to work, but it's been patched out. The closest we can get to swim in air now is this odd state where Spyro is swimming on the land. This is purely a visual glitch though. That leaves just a single egg remaining here, which puts Sunrise Spring on 90% completion. Each homeworld has a side character that we must rescue by paying moneybags some gems, and we will always play the side character's level first before any other level in the homeworld. This is so all side characters' areas within other levels will be accessible as soon as possible. We can play Sheila's Alp casually for an easy 100%. The first main Spyro level is Sunny Villa, which makes it one of the more basic levels in the game. We can complete half the level without any issues, but unfortunately there is a whirlwind partway through the level that we won't be able to use. Even if we could use it, as soon as we get up there, the game wants us to glide to one of two distant ledges, which we're not allowed to do anyway. One of those ledges is the top of the waterfall, which would get us some gems and an egg, and the other ledge leads to an entire side area where we play as Sheila. That's a fair amount of level we can't access, but we can still access the skateboard park at the end of the level. With that, we have completed 68% of Sunny Villa. The second Spyro level is Cloud Spires, and this level is a big issue right away. There is a very big gap early on in the level, and it's intended that we glide over this. We cannot access any other part of the level until we cross this gap. On the PS1 version of this challenge, playlist link below, we were able to use a big winged Rhinoc enemy to achieve a massive proxy to get launched miles into the sky. That same glitch does not work in Spyro Reignited, trust me, I tried for ages. You also can't stand on these big circular stone things, which is a shame as this would have helped a lot. We tried to reach the close by ledges from this spot too, but without being able to glide, we just could not pull this off. It's very annoying considering how close we can get, but that means that we could only get 4% completion here. We'll just have to come back later and hopefully we'll think of something then. We'll move on to the next level instead, Molten Crater. This level doesn't have a single intended gliding section at all, and the gaps here aren't that wide. If there is a wider gap over the lava, we can just damage boost our way across. There is a locked portal that leads to a side character's area that we haven't rescued yet. Moneybags paywalls the other portal in the level so we can get in there. It's a nice introduction to supercharging, and if you've watched any of our previous glideless runs, playlist is below, you'll know that there is going to be a lot of supercharging later on. That is 69% completion in Molten Crater. The last level of the first homeworld, Seashell Shore, requires 14 eggs before it will open, and that is exactly how many we have. The vast majority of this level takes place underwater, which means we can beat the vast majority of the level. So let's focus on the part of the level that takes place on land. I used to love luring this Rhinoc into the exploding barrels on PS1, except it doesn't work in Reignited, literally unplayable. There is a ledge the game wants us to glide over to, and we can't quite reach this ledge with a charge jump. However, to get as close as possible, we take advantage of something unique to the Reignited trilogy, Coyote Time. When Spyro charges over an edge, he stays suspended in the air for about half a second. During this time, he can still jump, so this helps us get even closer to the ledge, but it's still not quite enough. However, there is a bug in this game that we went over in our previous 2 Reignited glideless runs, link below. When the game has been running for 75 minutes, excluding time spent paused or in menus, Spyro's jump height increases ever so slightly. 75 minutes is equal to 1 hour and 15 minutes on the in-game timer, which we are very close to. We make some more attempts after 75 minutes, and now we can just make it up there with a charge jump. Another ledge the game wants us to glide to can be reached from below by bonking into the wall at this angle, and then bouncing back onto the ledge. This allows us to reach Sheila's side area as well. With that, we can reach anywhere in the whole level, so that is 100% completion for Seashell Shore. The only level remaining is Mushroom Speedway, the first of 4 speedways. In Spyro 3, we can either select time attack or race, but as soon as we select either of those, Spyro is flying straight away. Even if we hold down the charge button to charge out of the air, we just land in the water and fail immediately. And in the races, Spyro is flying automatically for a good few seconds before we have any control. This means we'll have to skip Mushroom Speedway. Thankfully, it's optional. But what's not optional is actually getting to the end of Cloud Spires. In Spyro 3, we must reach the end of every main level in the first 3 homeworlds. Otherwise, we cannot move on to the next homeworld. Even returning to Cloud Spires after 75 minutes for the improved jump height, the closest we ever got was this curved charge jump, and then charging again again in midair into the bit of wall that sticks out, resulting in a bonk that was so painfully close. I don't normally like resorting to glitches this early in a Spyro run, but we are left with no choice. We must use the level storage glitch just to get to the end of Cloud Spires. We've already fully detailed this glitch in our Spyro 1 Reignited video link below, but for a quick recap, we can pause the game on the same frame as we enter a level, and then select exit level. This confuses the game since we both enter and exit a level at the same time. If we do this for either Gulp or Ripto's boss entrance in Spyro 2, we maintain control of Spyro in the homeworld during the boss cutscene. If we use that time we have control to enter a speedway, we can trick the game into thinking that we're inside a speedway at all times. We can even transfer this glitch to Spyro 3. The benefits of the game thinking that we're in a speedway all the time is being able to fly anywhere, but that's against our rules. However, we can also supercharge anywhere we want, so we can use that to supercharge right to the end of Cloud Spires. Since we were forced to use a glitch early to make progress, we won't be using level storage to get any more collectibles than we have to. Instead, we will talk to the final NPC, get an egg, and exit the level. We can then remove the level storage glitch by rebooting the game, and then we return to the air balloon in Sunrise Spring. We can now fly to the game's first boss fight, Buzz, which doesn't require any gliding whatsoever. This brings us to the second homeworld, Midday Gardens. But first, when we defeat a boss, a Sparks level will be unlocked in the previous homeworld. Since it's only Spyro's wings we're banning, we can play all of Sparks levels casually for 100%. Back in Midday Gardens, there's nowhere we can't reach here. No gliding required. We can get 100% completion here too. Just like before, we rescue the new side character first and complete their level. This new side character is Sergeant Byrd. He can fly wherever he wants, which means his level is built completely around being able to fly. Since it's only Spyro's wings we're banning, we can complete Sergeant Byrd's base casually for 100%. Now that Byrd has been rescued, we can return to Molten Crater and complete Byrd's side area to get 100% completion there too. The first main level we enter in the second homeworld is Icy Peak. Just because Sparks has his own levels this time around, he thinks he can slack off in the main levels. There are several whirlwinds in this level that we can't use, so we already know there will be several far off platforms out of our reach. And the same proxies we used on PS1 do not work in Reignited. There is also a crack in the ice a short ways into the level. On the PS1 we couldn't break this ice with a head bash since Spyro can't jump on the ice, and we're not allowed to glide into the head bash. We tried shooting at the cracked ice with a turret, but it didn't work. But then we found out that the developers made the hitbox of the crack a lot bigger compared to PS1. We can jump from the doorway and still break the ice with a head bash from there. Sparks is still on strike apparently, so I guess I'll pick up the gems myself. There is a rocket we can ignite to break open the metal chest on a distant platform. It's intended that we use a whirlwind to reach that platform, but we remembered in Spyro 2 Reignited, we can ride the rockets as they fly. Unfortunately, this particular rocket is shaped differently and does not allow Spyro to stand on it at all, so that won't work this time. There is another ledge above some ice that we can't reach normally without gliding, but check this out. There is a flaming torch sticking out of the ice. We can't stand on it, but we can jump off it with a frame-perfect jump. We need to stand on the snow at the edge of the ice, charge jump onto the torch, and with very precise timing, perform a frame-perfect jump off the torch to reach the cave and grab all the gems up there. There's also a side area based around supercharging with 2 egg thieves. This is no issue as both egg thieves can be caught without gliding. Although, did you know that the skill point here isn't for getting the red egg thief first? It's actually for standing on the pillar that he stands on. Another fun fact is that in this side area, you don't lose a life when you fall off the edge. There is also yet another whirlwind in this side area too, and this would have led to several more gems. With the numerous whirlwinds in this level, we were only able to get 83% completion in Icy Peak. Enchanted Towers is up next, a level largely built around gliding since it's all about crossing wide gaps between islands. This means we don't get far before we run into a dead end. There's no way we can get off this tower without gliding. We can reach this head bash chest though by using our environment. We did learn about a new proxy that can be achieved thanks to the big hammer wielding Rhinox. When one of these Rhinox are defeated, they drop their hammer, and sometimes the game's physics causes the hammer to bounce erratically erratically. If we can get inside the hammer's hitbox as it bounces, it's possible to get very lucky and get proxied very far, but despite my many attempts, I was never able to pull off hammer proxy. However, there's another proxy we can do, and it's the same one that works on PS1, drill proxy. On the other side of this wall is the end of the level. If we can lure over a drilling Rhinoc and get him to squash us against the wall in this spot, as we jump up, we can get a very high proxy. This took a long time. Sometimes even the Rhinoc would go on strike and refuse to move. Eventually, after a lot of trial and error, we finally got the high proxy to reach the top of the wall. It's rare that the same proxy works on both versions of the game, but thankfully this one does. We grab all we can up here and then drop down to the end of the level for even more collectibles. Now, if we were able to reach the final island of the level, we would be able to access Sergeant Byrd's portal. The unique thing about that side character's portal in this level is that Sergeant Byrd has access to the entire main part of the level, so if we can just get over to that portal as Spyro, Sergeant Byrd can fly around and do everything in this level that Spyro can't. On the PS1 we were just able to charge jump over to that tower from the top of the wall of this tower, but that does not work this time around. There is something else we can do that didn't work on the PS1. In this part of the level there is a statue of the Sorceress. We're supposed to light 3 rockets one after the other to destroy it. These rockets are the smaller ones, like the one we saw in Idle Springs back in Spyro 2 Reignited. This means we can ride on it after we ignite it. We can get the checkpoint close to this rocket, so if we fail the trick we can death abuse to respawn the rocket and try again. We need to ignite the rocket and very quickly stand on it before it launches. If we are purchased just right on the rocket, it will carry us with it as it flies around. Since its target is the statue, it doesn't fly very far, so this doesn't seem to be useful at first. However, if we jump off the rocket, the momentum gives us an insane amount of distance. We can use this to reach the bridge that leads to Sergeant Byrd's portal, all the way on the far off island. From here, Spyro can reach the 2 side areas of the level. One where we escort a pet wolf back to his owner, which doesn't require any gliding, and the other, of course, to switch control to Sergeant Byrd. As we said, Byrd can fly around the main part of the level, which means nothing is out of his reach. Interestingly, the only thing that Byrd can't do that Spyro can do is break these vases. His rockets do nothing against them, but as sheer luck would have it, the only vases in this whole level are all in places that Spyro can reach anyway, so that's lucky. The only thing left to do in Enchanted Towers is to restart the level, get the drill proxy again, light all 3 rockets, destroy the statue, and access the skateboard park. Once we've completed everything there, that is 100% completion in Enchanted Towers. Moving on to Spooky Swamp. Most of the level is played normally without any need to glide, although reaching the treetops is more difficult this time, since we can't stand on the outer edge of the lamp rooms in Reignited. However, we can make it up to the trees from the last lamp room with maximum coyote time. This gets us a few more gems, but there are still 3 more trees that are too far away. One with a key, one with a gem, and another one with an egg. We can reach the locked chest, but without the key, that doesn't help us. We can fully complete the 2 side areas though. One of them is a frustrating Sheila section. Escorting these NPCs by stomping all the mushrooms and breaking all the rocks in their way was always annoying, but there is a way to make it a bit easier in the Reignited version. If we break all the rocks in the area ahead of time, they stay broken after starting the escort mission. You can't do this on PS1 since the rocks just respawn when starting the escort mission. This gives us a total of 88% completion in Spooky Swamp. On to Bamboo Terrace. Most of the level is simple, but there are a couple of platforms we can't reach without gliding. The first one is early on, which is unfortunate since there's an egg up there. The second one is right at the end of the level. It's a small platform with a question mark jar on it. It looks just close enough to reach from below, but we could never make it up there. We can't get a jump off the small bamboo sticking out of the ground either. We can stand on the post near the building, but we still can't reach the platform with a charge jump, and we can't get on the roof of the building either. Too bad the swim and air glitch doesn't work in Reignited anymore, but we had another idea. There is a nearby Rhinoc that launches fireworks at us when we get close. We tried to bait the Rhinoc's firework towards us, but we jump as he launches it to make the firework aim upwards slightly. The plan is to then charge into the firework in mid-air to damage boost onto the platform. I had no idea if this was going to work, and I failed to pull this off over and over, but eventually eventually, after a lot of practice, the firework hit the question mark jar. I didn't even know that could happen. From now on, the jar only spawns in places that we can already reach. That just leaves the side area that we can't visit yet until we rescue Bentley, and the first platform we couldn't reach. So we leave Bamboo Terrace on 58% completion. The second Speedway is Country Speedway, and it's just as hopeless as Mushroom Speedway, so we move on to the second boss fight instead. His name is Spike, and we make quick work of him, which means we can move on to the third homeworld, Evening Lake. As before, after defeating a boss, we can return to the previous homeworld to complete Sparks' level. This one was called Spider Town. The Evening Lake homeworld is largely underwater, so there is a lot we can do without issue. But there is some platforming on land still. Sparks' protesting continues as he blatantly ignores another gem. We're able to platform our way around the lake thanks to Coyote Time, which allows us to reach every single gem. But there is still an egg on a platform that we can't reach for now. Once again, we rescue the side character first, Bentley, and we complete his level casually. Then we can return to Bamboo Terrace to complete Bentley's side area there, which boosts Bamboo Terrace's completion percentage to 89. The first main level of the third homeworld that we want to do is Lost Fleet. This is because Hunter gives us a mission in this level. Hunter gets kidnapped in the story partway through the third homeworld, so if we don't do Lost Fleet before then, we would be forced to revisit this level later. We make sure to use this cannon to destroy the metal chest on the high up ledge. We're meant to glide to that ledge later, but we'll find another way. There's also an acid waterfall that we're supposed to glide on top of. On the PS1, we were able to use a swim in air glitch to get up there, but it looks impossible to get up there on Reignited, except we can simply just damage boost up there, which gives us access to the entire submarine side area. After that, there is a wide gap that we just can't quite make with a charge jump. But if we land on the very left side, we can use the environment to push ourselves onto the ledge. At the end, there's a whirlwind to reach the top of the ship, but there is another way up. We can use the power up to allow us to swim through the acid for a few seconds. This allows us to reach another ship, which we can then charge jump from to reach the top of the first ship. There is a cave entrance under the acid with an egg inside, but the only way back out of this cave is to either swim back the way we came or use a whirlwind. Since our power-up ran out, we have no choice but to pause and exit the level and then return once again. The only gems we don't have are the ones inside the metal chest on the high ledge. If you did exit the level, just remember to break the chest again with the cannon since it respawns. To get up there in this run, we can stand on this torch and then charge jump over to the cave. It's not easy, and falling down here means running all the way around the whole level again just to give it another try. But when we do get it, that is 100% completion in the Lost Fleet. The next level we'll be visiting is the Frozen Altars. In this level, our frame breath becomes ice breath. A lot of this level can be played without any issues. The high up ledges can be reached by freezing either the enemies or the NPCs and then using them as platforms. We can charge jump over the left side of the big steps to land on a roof. This leads us to more gems and an egg. On the PS1, this actually led to 2 eggs, as we were able to charge jump our way across the lip of this roof to reach a second egg, but that doesn't work this time. We can also reach the gems on the top of the laser tower. We used a proxy after freezing the NPC on PS1, but that doesn't seem to work on Reignited. We can get horizontal proxies like this though. I swear they've nerfed the difficulty of the boxing minigame. We just spammed high and low punches back and forth until we won. And don't even get me started on the ice hockey Rhinoc. His heart's in the right place, A for effort. That's all we can do in the Frozen Altars for now. The remaining collectibles need to be glided to, so that leaves this level on 91% completion. Fireworks Factory is next, and the entire main part of the level can be cleared with only a single exception. This one yellow gem right at the end of the level. We can just reach the lamp that sticks out below the yellow gem, but that doesn't get us up there. If Sparks wasn't still on strike, he would have grabbed the gem for us. You can't tell me he's not close enough. The Rhinoc spawning boxes were used in this level for a big proxy on PS1, but as is the running theme, that doesn't work in Reignited. We tried shooting a Rhinoc with a firework while standing on top of one of these boxes, hoping that when the lid opens to spawn another Rhinoc, it might proxy us upwards, but no luck. There are 3 side areas in this level. One we can complete now. There is a bit of platforming over lava, but damage boosts get us anywhere we need to be. The second side area is out of our reach, since it's beyond the yellow gem we can't get. And the third side area is played as a side character we haven't unlocked yet, so that leaves Fireworks Factory on 56% completion. Charmed Ridge ended up being one of the most difficult levels in the entire run. There is a rocket in this level, but we absolutely must not light this rocket yet. We also must avoid breaking the metal chest with the super flame power up too. You'll see why soon. To reach the 2 red gems near the giant moving chest piece, we can just use a charge jump from the highest plank that we can reach, and this just lets us get over there. There's a wide gap to reach the cave that we can't get over to. This jump was just possible on PS1, but no matter how many times I tried, I could not get over there on Reignited. We tried to use the momentum from the moving platforms to get a further jump, but it just wasn't happening. There's also a whirlwind that leads up to a cat wizard enemy that we need to defeat to open the door to reach the final NPC of the level. The PS1 strategy of firing our flame breath upwards doesn't work this time. We tried to bring the super flame power up to this room to shoot the cat wizard, but the power up does not last anywhere near long enough. Until we defeat that cat wizard up there, we cannot fly to the next homeworld. So it's time to introduce a new glitch that we've never used before. It's called Purple Rock. First, we travel back to the game's second boss fight, Spike. This works since we can refight any boss as many times as we want. During this boss fight, Sergeant Byrd drops down different coloured rocks into the arena for us to use against the boss. We need to land the final hit on Spike right as Byrd is dropping a purple rock into the arena. After Spike's defeat animation, we have about 3 seconds of free movement before the egg hatching animation starts. If we can grab that purple rock that Byrd drops during those 3 seconds, and then we leave Spike's arena, we still have that purple rock. What's more, when using that purple rock outside of the boss fight, it's unlimited. The only way we can lose this glitch is if we activate a cutscene, die, or fast travel. It seems like this is effectively the same thing as having unlimited super flame, except the purple rock's power is the same as Spyro's normal flame breath, so it can't destroy metal chests or metal enemies or anything like that. However, what we can do is return to Charmed Ridge, reach the end of the level again, aim upwards in first person, and take out the cat wizard with purple rock. But the cutscene that triggers right afterwards does remove the glitch. Thankfully, we can repeat the steps to get the glitch back whenever we want to. When we get the glitch back again, we can also use purple rock to break the question mark jar that is above the whirlwind. It doesn't look like we can hit the jar from here, but shooting the purple rock underneath it still breaks it. We can now break the jar in all the places that it spawns. Even when it spawns in the cave entrance that we can't reach, we can just shoot it with purple rock. The final place the jar spawns is in the very starting platform, which we can't reach without gliding. We can shoot the jar to break it open from here, revealing the gems within, but we can't get over to them. On the PS1 version, we avoided all checkpoints in the level, broke the jar with a super flame, and then death abused to respawn on the starting platform right next to the gems. But on Reignited, if we die after breaking the jar, but before collecting any of its gems, the jar respawns right back where it started. We tried to use the nearby moving platforms to give us enough momentum to charge jump over to that platform, but it didn't work. Sometimes we got kinda close, but with each failed attempt we would lose our purple rock glitch. So upon death we'd have to reactivate the glitch just to try all this all over again. Fortunately, there is something else we can do. This is why we left the rocket alone earlier. This rocket can also be stood on, but for whatever reason it's very difficult to stay purchased on this rocket after it launches. So what we do with this rocket instead is we ignite it and then jump on top of the rocket, making sure to land on top of it at the exact frame the rocket takes off. This gives Spyro a massive proxy if timed perfectly. The angle we land on the rocket changes the direction that we get proxied. As long as we don't touch any of the gems inside the metal chest after the rocket breaks it open, we can respawn the rocket with a death abuse, which means we can retry this proxy again and again. After a lot of rocket proxy attempts, we found that the range of direction that we get proxied is actually fairly limited, but the height we can get is always amazing. We can use this proxy to reach the level's starting platform again. This means getting purple rock, using purple rock to break the jar, move the jar all the way to the starting platform again, and then getting the perfect rocket proxy to reach the starting platform. If we die during any of this, we must start the entire process all over again. So that makes this a very frustrating trick. But the important thing is, it is possible. Once we pull it off, we can grab the gems out of the question mark jar and then death abuse to respawn the rocket. The gems will stay in our inventory. This is so that we can use the rocket again for another proxy. But unfortunately, due to the limited range, we cannot get a rocket proxy towards the cave that we couldn't reach earlier. I don't want to say it's impossible, but despite my many attempts, I just could not get a proxy in the right direction. So why do we want to respawn the rocket? Well, there is a Sergeant Byrd side area in this level, and its portal is only reachable after using the whirlwind at the end of the level. This is pretty much in the exact opposite direction that the rocket proxy can launch us, so getting to that side area seems hopeless. Except that side area exists in the level behind the mountains directly to the left of the rocket. We need the mother of all rocket proxies, but if we nail it perfectly, we can launch Spyro way into the distance and over the mountains. We need to land in the entrance area to the right side of that side area and not in the large dome-shaped room. This is because if we land in the dome-shaped room, Spyro will be trapped inside. When we finally land inside the entrance room where the fairy is, we can walk through the portal from this side to warp to the portal in the main part of the level. From here, we can collect the gems on the high up ledges and then return to the portal to play Sergeant Byrd's minigame as normal. This puts Charmed Ridge on 70% completion. Honey Speedway will also have to be skipped, just like the first two speedways, so we'll move on to the third boss fight, Scorch. Not much to say, none of the bosses in this game require gliding, so we're home free. We can then return to the Evening Lake to complete Sparks' third level, the Starfish Reef. Now we can travel to the final homeworld, Midnight Mountain. There are two small platforms with eggs and gems on, and we won't be able to reach these platforms without gliding. There's another egg underground, but once we have it, the only way back out again is to use a whirlwind. On the PS1 we had to save and quit the game, but this time we can just fast travel somewhere else and then travel right back. That puts Midnight Mountain on 77% completion. As usual, we rescue the side character, Agent 9, and we beat their level first. This also means we can return to Fireworks Factory to play Agent 9's side area, which pushes the Fireworks Factory completion up to 86%. Now we get to play the level with my favourite design, Crystal Islands. The issue is we only get about halfway through the level before we're blocked by a forced whirlwind. There's no other way by this whirlwind. We can't even reach this egg. We could charge jump to this egg on the PS1, but it's too far in Reignited, even with Coyote Time. Then again, this whole level could be trivialized on PS1 thanks to a swim and air glitch. We couldn't get a single egg in this level. There is something we can do here to make progress though, and it requires the purple rock glitch again. We return after getting our purple rock back and look to the right of the starting area. There is an egg thief in a plane. We're supposed to use the flight power up later in the level to fly after it, but we can shoot it with a purple rock from here. Once we defeat the egg thief, we are warped over to the small island that he was on to be awarded the egg. The cutscene of the egg hatching removes the glitch though. However, now that we're on this island, there is a side area we can play as Bentley. We grab some more gems and play whack-a-mole to earn another egg. That pushes Crystal Islands up to 37% completion. There really is nothing else we can do here though, so we'll move on over to the desert ruins. Right away, there are two gems on this stone hand taunting us by being just slightly out of reach. We tried to use a nearby enemy to get a damage boost up there, but no luck. And Scorpion Proxy doesn't work in Reignited either. We're able to charge jump over the next few gaps, but there are still a couple of ledges we can't reach without gliding. One of those ledges is above the acid waterfall, but we can use damage boosts to make it up there. This means we can play Sheila's side area, but if we want to reach the key, we're going to need even more damage boosts, so just make sure to have full health before coming up here. We did manage to damage boost our way up a different acid waterfall for a couple more gems, but it took all the health I had at the time. This meant that we didn't have enough health for one more damage boost, which we needed to clear the next gap. But since we've already completed the Sparks level Starfish Reef, we have unlocked one extra hit point. This means that if we damage boost up this waterfall with full health, we can then damage boost our way over the acid to reach the egg beyond that. There is an enemy at the top of this ladder who's channeling his inner MC fancy hammer, but despite that, we can indeed touch him. There is a purple gem on the far platform. On PS1, Sparks was able to grab this gem as we got close to it after a charge jump, but on Reignited, Sparks won't grab the gem unless we land on the platform. We made attempts at this jump for a while, but the solution was to make the jump from the right side of the ledge next to this hole. The edge of the platform near the hole is slightly higher, and that helped us reach the platform. We saved the underwater side area of this level for last, since the only way back out of it is with a whirlwind. Once we're done here, we can fast travel back to Midnight Mountain after getting 98% completion in Desert Ruins. Next up is the Haunted Tomb. Most of the level can be beaten without issue. There is a high ledge close to the start that we're supposed to glide to, and on PS1 we were able to use some nearby enemies to bounce our way up there, but that doesn't work this time. At the end of the level there is a snake slide that leads to more gems and an egg, but once we hit the bottom, the way to get off this slide is by gliding. Since hatching an egg is also a checkpoint, we can't even death abuse to get off this slide since we just spawn back on the bridge. So we'll just have to fast travel out of the level and then back again. Nothing else requires any gliding, including the side areas, so that just leaves the ledge at the start we couldn't get onto. However, there is a way up there. Check this out. There is a sarcophagus below the ledge we want to reach. This is one of many sarcophagi in the level, and their gimmick is that they spawn Rhinoc enemies infinitely until they are destroyed. We can't stand on top of the sarcophagus or anything like that, but if we stand directly in front of the sarcophagus as it spits a Rhinoc out, the Rhinoc can land on the same spot as Spyro. This causes the Rhinoc to get proxied away from Spyro, and the direction depends on where we're standing. We want to proxy the Rhinoc into the small stream of water to the left of the sarcophagus. If we fail to proxy the Rhinoc where we want to, we defeat the Rhinoc and try again. Sometimes the Rhinoc would proxy right over the edge, which is annoying since the fall doesn't kill the Rhinoc. We have to spit a flaming ball at him if this happens. When we finally proxy the Rhinoc over to the right spot, the Rhinoc will run back towards where it originally wanted to stand. This means the Rhinoc needs to step up and out of the water. Since the enemy has no step up animation, it just zips upwards in a single frame. If we can jump over the top of the Rhinoc on the exact frame the Rhinoc zips upwards, we can get proxied upwards as well, and finally land on the ledge that we couldn't reach. Once we have everything up here, that is 100% completion in the Haunted Tomb. That brings us to the final main level of the final homeworld, Dino Mines. Their very first obstacle is right at the very beginning, this awkward jump around a corner of a building. This wasn't too bad on PS1, but in Reignited, we need to take full advantage of Coyote time, and it's still close. Getting back is just as awkward, but we can fast travel out and back again. We can progress the rest of the level with little issue from here, despite the fact that Sparks is still working under protest. But there is one more ledge we cannot seem to reach. It's this one near the end with the side area portal on it. We tried just about everything to get up there. Proxies from the enemies, bonking off the walls, charge jumps from the top of the silo, nothing worked. In fact, there's even a metal chest with a target on top right below the ledge, and we had the idea of using it to stand on before we break it. But in Reignited, Spyro can't stand on these target chests. I could have sworn you can stand on top of these on PS1. The eventual solution was to use the cactus to get another frame perfect jump, exactly like the torch jump in Icy Peak. We charge jump over to the cactus, let go of charge as we land on it, and jump on the exact frame we touched the cactus to get a jump from it. From there, we were able to complete the Agent 9 side area, which gives us 100% completion in Dino Mines. The final speedway in the game is Harbor Speedway, and would you believe, we can actually make progress here. If we select time attack and then hold down the charge button, we can land on solid ground if we aim our landing. Now, we need to try and complete as much as we can in the time limit while only being able to use supercharge to get around. This is much easier said than done. Not being able to fly already makes the birds very hard to hit, but having to super jump from platform to platform the entire time is bound to lead to mistakes. It is possible to take out some of the individual groups of 8 targets in the time limit without falling in the water, but there's no way we can get all 32 targets in a single run. What we can do though is find find Hunter hiding in his lighthouse. Talking to him means that he can embark on a side mission of his own to rescue a dragon egg. However, there is a glitch we can do with Hunter. If we turn down his offer to rescue the egg, there will now be a triangle prompt above his head. If we press triangle to talk to Hunter and then pause the game immediately after, the pause menu opens up before the conversation starts. We then select quit from the pause menu, which puts a retry window on the screen. We then select retry, which puts Spyro under the ground. And then Hunter starts talking to us. Now we can ask him to chase the flying saucer, but when the mission starts, we pause it and then quit the mission right away. This puts Spyro back in front of Hunter, but now we turn down his offer to chase the flying saucer. Spyro is now back on the starting platform, and this has triggered an insane glitch. If we select time attack again, we can now stand on the surface of the water. Better yet, this glitch persists until we leave the Speedway. So the question now is, can we get all the archways in a minute and a half without flying if we can stand on the water? Let's give it a try. It's incredibly fortunate that there is a slope leading back from the water onto the land. It's supposed to be for the fish targets to travel up, but it also means that we can get back on the land from the water if we ever fall down. Eventually, this is the route that we used, and even with this perfectly planned route, we still only had about 4 seconds left to spare. We have managed to get all 32 targets, but not all in the same attempt, since there is no way we would have enough time to do that without flying. We get 80 gems for each group of 8 targets, and another 80 gems for getting all 32 targets in one run, so that means that we're 80 gems short here. We can then actually do Hunter's side mission for the egg after all that. That is 56% completion in Harbour Speedway. Since we have over 100 eggs, we can challenge the Sorceress in the final boss fight. Just like on PS1, no gliding is needed whatsoever. We can use a flying saucer, but that's not using Spyro's wings. Once we've won the fight, we can also complete the 4th and final Sparks level, Bugbot Factory. This gives Sparks the ability to break open gem vases and baskets whenever we get close to them. And would you believe, this is actually going to become extremely useful later. We can also take sweet revenge on Moneybags in Midnight Mountain to get all our gems back, and another egg, which pushes Midnight Mountain's completion percentage to 88. This is now the furthest we can push this run unless we use the level storage glitch again, just like we did in Cloud Spires. We have already covered how to activate this glitch, so to start with, we're going to use our wingless Spyro 2 save file to set up the glitch. However, this also gives us a time limit of just 30 seconds in every level, since that is the time limit that a Spyro 2 Speedway has. We don't want to let that timer run out, otherwise all kinds of weird glitches can happen. The plan is to go over all the levels from the start that we couldn't fully complete and hope that we can use supercharging to make more progress in each of them, but within a 30-second timer. We'll start with the first homeworld, Sunrise Spring. The only thing we still need to do here is get the final egg that we're supposed to fly to, but if we stand on the signpost outside of Sheila's Alp, we can super jump to the egg, and that puts Sunrise Spring on 100% completion. We can fast travel to the next level before the timer runs out to reset the timer. The next level is Sunny Villa. We couldn't get on top of the waterfall, nor could we get to Sheila's portal, but we actually can reach the top of the waterfall. It's not easy, but if we super jump from here into this rock, and if we hit the very seam of the rock, Spyro can get bounced upwards slightly. This took a lot of attempts, but when we finally made it up there, we grab the egg as quick as we can, and then we death abuse by running over the edge. The egg hatching also counts as a checkpoint, so we respawn at the top of the waterfall. We wanted this so we can super jump onto the 2 stone pillars to grab the 2 red gems on top of them. Every time we fail to reach one, we death abuse and try again. Even though the second pillar looks close enough to the ledge that Sheila's portal is on, we still can't super jump up there, and we can't stand on the decorative parts of the level either. That pushes Sunny Villa up to 77% completion. Now we're free to use supercharge in Cloud Spires as much as we want. We already know we can super jump to the end of the level, and there's even a portal here that we can enter to trigger a checkpoint. This means that death abusing now respawns us at that portal, which gives us the time we need to reach other parts of the level. The routine in most levels from now on is to supercharge our way to any area that we couldn't reach before, grab as many collectibles as we can, and then death abuse before the 30 seconds are up. Thankfully, this egg kills Spyro's supercharged momentum when we charge into it, so that prevents us from going right over the edge. It's also worth noting that entering side portals within a level doesn't reset the 30-second timer. Also, they cause us to lose the ability to supercharge, but if we death abuse within a side area, we respawn at the start of that side area with the supercharge ability again. Unfortunately, 30 seconds is not enough to push all 3 sun seeds, even with supercharge, but we can grab all the gems here at least. We will be allowing the whirlwind in this level because the reason we banned them in the first place is due to the automatic glide at the end. Even if we hold down the charge button, Spyro still seems to glide for a frame or so, but the whirlwind in Cloud Spires takes us straight into a side area portal, so no gliding. Since it's impossible to death abuse in this particular side area, we cannot use supercharge whilst in here. We'll just have to run around quickly and then fast travel out of here before the 30 seconds are up. Sparks' ability to break open vases and baskets is actually coming in very handy now, and this puts Cloud Spires on 83% completion. As for Icy Peak, we can now super jump over to the various small platforms that we couldn't reach before. There's a checkpoint just before the first icy part of the level, so we can start our sprints from there. Spyro is able to break the ice walls with supercharge, so that means we don't have to waste time with the cannons. We can super jump up to this ledge, making sure not to overshoot the landing, and from there we can super jump all the way over to the metal chest and the egg. We can use the side portals within the level for checkpoints, if there are no fairies nearby, as long as we exit the portal again and death abuse quickly. From here we can reach this final platform beyond another whirlwind. Once we have everything there, the only remaining gems are within the egg thief side area. We would need to use a whirlwind to reach them, and since this area provides supercharge ramps anyway, there's no way we would be able to get those gems. That puts Icy Peak on 97% completion. In Spooky Swamp, there is a locked metal chest that we couldn't open since the key is on top of a tree, but with supercharge, we can just break the chest open. Once we supercharge across the trees, we find the last remaining egg and the gem for 100% completion. There was only one single platform that we couldn't reach in Bamboo Terrace, and with supercharge, reaching it is trivial. That is 100% completion here. The Evening Lake Homeworld is a very similar deal. There was just a single platform we couldn't reach, but now we can supercharge there from the top of a ladder. That's 100% completion here too. There was an egg in Frozen Altars we couldn't reach, and now we can just super jump to it from close to the beginning of the level. That egg is now our checkpoint, so death abusing and respawning here lets us use the super jump to reach the top of the only laser tower we couldn't reach. That is 100% completion in Frozen Altars. Remember that one yellow gem we couldn't reach in Fireworks Factory? Well, we can definitely reach it now, as well as the portal beyond it with the flying dragons. We're supposed to use this flying super flame combo power up to fight these 2 dragons. We thought about using the power up and then just firing super flames from the ground to avoid flying, but unfortunately that doesn't work since touching the power up forces Spyro into flying. Even if we spam the charge or head bash buttons, we still fly for a frame or 2, but it's not like it matters anyway. We would have absolutely no chance of defeating both dragons in less than 30 seconds. We did try using the purple rock glitch to fight the dragons, but it turns out the purple rock glitch doesn't work in the game's side areas. We charge around, gathering up all the remaining gems in the area instead, which does get us all the gems in the level. We're still 1 egg short if we can't defeat the dragons though, so that is 93% completion in Fireworks Factory. The main part of Charmed Ridge that we couldn't reach was the caves that we couldn't quite jump over to, and the side area within. We can charge straight ahead and reach that cave no problem now, and the side area entrance portal acts as our checkpoint too. The side area itself involves spitting plant seeds into the soil patches to grow the giant plants, and then use those giant plants as platforms to reach higher ledges. The main issue with this is the time it takes to plant the seeds. Yellow seeds sprout short flowers that we can stand on, and red seeds sprout bouncy mushrooms that are normally too tall to jump on from the ground. With the height we can get from a super jump, we can make it onto the first ledge with just a yellow seed. Here we need to plant a red seed, grab a yellow seed, super jump on top of the mushroom to bounce to the lower ledge, turn around, and jump over to the next ledge, plant a yellow seed, and then use that to reach the halfway point. We just managed that right as the timer ran out. But since we triggered the cutscene, it continues during the retry screen. If we let the cutscene play way out, we are awarded an egg, and normally this would count as our checkpoint, but we're stuck with the retry menu on screen. But thankfully, due to the cutscene interrupting the retry window, we have access to the guidebook menu. We can use that to fast travel somewhere else and then return to Charmed Ridge. Since we acquired the first egg here, all the plants up to that point are already grown, and they stay grown permanently. This is very fortunate since we can't use the egg checkpoint in this side area. There's a whole second section to this area with more seeds and plant-based puzzle platforming, but we actually don't need to use any more seeds from now on. We do still need to talk to the NPC halfway up though, otherwise the final egg cutscene won't be triggered when we reach it. This is the path we use to reach the very top of the area without using any more seeds. Once again, the timer runs out during the egg cutscene, but the egg still counts if we wait the cutscene out while the retry menu is on screen. We actually need to use the same route again to reach the top of that tower, this time for the remaining gems, and with that, Charmed Ridge is 100% complete. Midnight Mountain had those two far off platforms that we couldn't reach, and super jumping gets us over to both of them without issue. That is actually 111% completion here, since the egg that we got from Moneybags counts as an extra egg that's worth an additional 11%. The small platform we couldn't reach in Crystal Islands is now very easy to reach, so we get that egg. We can use super jump to reach the second half of the level without needing the whirlwind. Since we already took our revenge on Moneybags, he no longer spawns here, so the bridge is already extended. We don't have the key for the metal chest, but we can break it open with a supercharge anyway. There's a side area at the end of the level with a long slide. There are many gems on the slide and at the bottom of the slide, but we can't supercharge while sliding. We can quickly death abuse at the beginning of the slide area to get our supercharge back, and then we can use a super jump for a big head start on the slide. But even with the full 30 seconds, we don't have time to reach the end of the slide. We did manage to grab some gems on the slide up to a certain point. We had the idea to try and get on top of the low walls next to the slide, but it seems we can't get on top of any of them. The rocky parts can't be stood on either, we just roll right off. After some practice, we were able to maintain our momentum during the slide with slightly wider turns during the slide. This didn't help us get any further down the slide, but it did help us get a shortcut near the end. We slide off the edge here with momentum and we can just land on a later part of the slide to grab some more gems. We still didn't quite have enough time to reach the gems and the egg at the bottom though. But get this, it turns out that the only wall we can actually stand on by sliding into it is directly after the shortcut we took. If we can slide onto the wall, we can immediately super jump to the end of the slide and use our last couple of seconds to grab as many collectibles as we can. Even if we only have time to grab a single gem, we can repeat the steps we took to get back here and try again. We do this over and over until we have collected everything in the slide area. Once again, the egg hatching cutscene still finishes if we start the cutscene before the timer runs out. Sparks has finally agreed to come back to work. His ability to break open baskets and vases is vital here. Unfortunately, the rest of the level is out of reach to us, since we're supposed to use the flight power up to reach the rooftops, so we'll just have to settle for 88% completion in Crystal Islands. Desert Ruins is a very simple 100% now. There were only two platforms we couldn't reach, both of which involve giant stone hands. With that, this is everything we can possibly do in the game with the help of level storage. But just like we did in our Spyro 1 and 2 Reignited videos, we can activate the level storage glitch using a completed Spyro 2 save file, which gives us 10-minute level storage instead of just 30 seconds. Now the idea is to see if level storage can help us reach more collectibles if we remove the strict timer. The first one is the egg in Cloud Spires that we get by creating a new sun with 3 sun seeds. We didn't have enough time before, but it's easy now, so that's 91% completion in the Cloud Spires. Next up is the dragon fight in Fireworks Factory. We solved the timer issue, but we need to figure out how to trigger the power-up without flying. On the PS1, if the dragon shot Spyro with a fireball, it would push him through the power-up and then he wasn't forced into flight. In Reignited, the dragons don't start shooting at us until we get the power-up first. However, if we charge into the power-up and then pause the game just before Spyro starts to fly, as long as the dragon health bars appear here first, we can select exit area and then re-enter the area. Now, the dragons will shoot us with fireballs before we get the power-up, which means the dragons can actually knock us into the power-up without any forced flight. Actually killing the dragons without being able to fly is the hard part, a lot harder than it was on PS1. We tried many times, but eventually we found the best thing to do was to jump inside the tunnel, stand here, and keep firing over and over in first person. The more damage the dragons take, the smaller they get, so the smaller target they become, but these dragons also heal themselves over time if they're not taking damage. This took a long time, and when we finally pulled this off, we only had 15 seconds remaining. That's 100% completion in Fireworks Factory. That is every single level in the game except for one, the super bonus round. The portal for this level is on its own island in Midnight Mountain, and it's much too far to reach without gliding, but we can super jump over to it with level storage. However, this portal is blocked until we have all 15,000 gems and all 149 eggs in the entire game before this point. Of course, we can't do that in this run, so it looks like we'll have to skip the super bonus round. Or do we? There is actually a way in, but it requires some setup. But the first thing I'll say is, for full transparency, I could not get this glitch to work myself. I replicated the exact steps you're supposed to take to make this glitch work, and I just couldn't get it to work, and I don't know why. However, I can show you the footage of someone who did get it to work. The first step is to save and quit the game in Midnight Mountain. The second step is to start the game over from the beginning in a separate save slot. The reason we're doing this is because the glitch we want to do requires the NPCs to be standing next to the air balloon. The only way we can get the NPCs to stand next to the balloon is to get to the end of all the levels within a homeworld, but before beating the first boss. We can just use level storage to finish this part faster. Now, the glitch we want to do is essentially another level storage glitch, but we want to do it whilst travelling out of a homeworld. To do this, we need to pause the game on the perfect frame as the balloon is taking off. This is normally impossible as the game doesn't let us pause once we're standing on the balloon. However, that's what the NPCs are for. If we charge towards the balloon and press triangle to talk to an NPC at the same time that Spyro jumps onto the balloon, the NPC dialogue is interrupted. Would you believe this is easier if we remove level storage first? Now we can pause the game as the balloon takes off. This means we can pause on that perfect frame right as the boss level Buzz's Dungeon starts to load in. And after we pause, we select exit level. This causes some weird visuals on the loading screen. Then there's a cutscene, but we want to wait a little bit before skipping it. We need to wait just long enough to make sure the game has loaded everything. Spyro jumps off the balloon backwards, and Buzz's AI doesn't even activate. The next step is to death abuse in the lava, which loads the boss fight properly. And then we win the boss fight as normal. Upon arriving in Midday Gardens, we need to death abuse again. But we can't do that in the home world, so we need to run to the closest level, Icy Peak, and just jump off the edge. We return to Midday Garden, and now we can see the result of our glitchy shenanigans. Since this is a new save file, we haven't rescued Sergeant Byrd. However, we can see that his level portal has opened up. It even has gold letters, but his cage is still there. What we have done is deload various assets in the game's homeworld, because the game still has Sunrise Springs assets loaded in. Some of the side effects to this glitch are crazy. You can enter a side character's level and then play it as Spyro. The game just doesn't shift control over to the side character anymore, and it even causes you to fall under the water without actually swimming. This exact same thing happened on the PS1 version of this game. How does this glitch exist in both of the games? And no, I'm not testing this in Evening Lake. It's freaky enough as it is. This glitch persists even if we quit the game and load a different save file. We can now load our completed Spyro 2 save file to reactivate the level storage glitch again. And then we can load our glideless Spyro 3 save file, which should start us in Midnight Mountain, as that is where we were last. Just like with Sergeant Byrd's base level portal opening early, the super bonus round portal has also opened early, since we have deloaded the door that blocks our access. A super jump is required to reach it, of course, and we go right on in, even though we don't have the 15,000 gems or 149 eggs. The super bonus round itself is like its own hub area with multiple portals leading to side areas. The only collectibles we can find here are gems, and a lot of them. Even the thieves are carrying gems, but the issue we face is that the side area portals here are locked behind doors. They will only open if we can obtain certain gem totals. The cheapest door requires 16,000 gems. We entered super bonus round with about 13,500. We would need to grab 2,500 gems within the super bonus round's hub area if we want to open that door. The only gems that are even a challenge to obtain are the gems that we get for destroying the flying saucers. There is a flight super flame combo power up behind a locked door, and normally we would need 18,500 gems to open that door, but we can just use supercharge to get around it. But just like in Fireworks Factory, we can't touch this power up without flying automatically. Nothing can damage boost us into this power up either. However, if we head bash against the side of the archway, due to the shape of the archway, Spyro slides along it during the head bash animation. This can slide us into the side of the power up, and then touching the power up like this prevents the automatic flying. Now we can shoot down the flying saucers from the ground for even more gems. After we have collected every single gem in the super bonus round hub area, and every single other gem we can possibly reach in the entire game without flying or gliding, we have exactly 15,864 gems, just 136 gems short of opening the first door in the super bonus round. That is a massive shame. If you're wondering why we can't just use the HomeWorld Storage glitch again to remove these doors, we did try it, but for some reason it doesn't work, and all it ends up doing is removing the gold text over the doors instead for some reason. If we could get in that door, we should be able to get the 1,000 gems we would need for the next door as well. We just need to find a way to scrape a few gems in any of the levels that we weren't able to beat 100%. After a long while, we finally found a way to boost our total. It's time to return to Harbour Speedway. We said there's no way of getting all 32 targets in a minute and a half without flying, but it turns out I just wasn't trying hard enough. It's still extremely difficult, but this is the route that we use to get it done. The main difficulty comes from hitting the flying birds. The route needs to be planned so that we hit as many birds as possible whilst we're charging over the carrier boat. Of course, we need to set up the glitch again that allows us to charge over the surface of the water. Another quirk of this game's speedways, which we can take advantage of, is if we charge as far away from the level as we can, eventually the game will warp Spyro back to the original starting position, as sort of like a failsafe. This can help us to get back on the land a bit quicker than running all the way around the island. The final target is the last bird. We weren't able to catch this one flying over the carrier, so we have to jump and flame it from here. We only just have enough time to do this. With less than a second to spare, that is 80 more gems, and even one more egg in Harbour Speedway. That still leaves us 56 gems short of 16,000. The only two main levels in the game with that many gems remaining are Sunny Villa and Crystal Islands. Considering how many times we've thrown ourselves at the trees in Crystal Islands, just hoping to get bounced up to the rooftops, only to fail every single time, Sunny Villa is looking like our best bet. The rest of the gems in this level are all blocked by a whirlwind. We just need to find a way up there without using the whirlwind, and after a lot of trial and error, we came up with this. There is a tree on top of this building. Spyro can stand on top of these trees, but the tree is far too tall to get on top of, even with super jump. However, if Spyro burns the tree, the leaves burn away and the tree actually becomes slightly shorter. It is now possible to super jump on top of the burnt tree. If the angle and positioning is perfect, we can even hit the top of the tree in such a way that we lose all our supercharge speed and stay perched on top of the tree. This still isn't high enough to reach the top of the whirlwind though, but that's not our target yet. It turns out Spyro can stand on the very top of this giant archway. The problem is it's too high up to reach from the burnt tree. We would have been able to reach it from an unburnt tree, but since we can't get on top of the unburnt tree, that doesn't help us. However, if we can get Spyro to stand in a specific spot on the burnt tree, sort of between two branches, Spyro bounces up and down. Since the game isn't quite sure which branch he should be standing on. We just need to time our super jump right as Spyro is at the apex of a bounce, then curve the jump into the top of the archway to prevent a bonk. This also allows us to stay on the archway. Now we need to stand at the highest point of the archway, enter first person, turn around, center the camera, and perform the best possible super jump the game will allow from this tiny ledge. We can only just make this jump by the skin of our teeth. Banning the use of whirlwinds in these glideless challenge runs may seem strange and arbitrary, but you can't deny that it results in some creative strats like this one. From here, we can easily super jump over to the Sheila portal, complete her section with ease, and collect all the remaining gems and an egg to put Sunny Villa on 100% completion. We now have over 16,000 gems, so we fast travel back to Super Bonus Round, beat the submarine section inside the 16k door, get all the gems in there, which puts us on over 17,000, and now we can open the 17k door to play another skateboard race to earn even more gems. And this actually earns us all 5,000 gems in the Super Bonus Round. We still can't earn the one and only egg here, since we need all 20,000 gems in the entire game, and the first 3 speedways alone make that impossible. The guidebook actually considers this to be 100% completion in Super Bonus Round, despite there still being an egg here. So, can you beat Spyro 3 Reignited without gliding or flying? Yes, we can. And with a grand total of 107% completion out of 117. Thank you all for watching. I need to give a huge thank you to those who helped me make this challenge possible. They have tested so many things for me, lent me footage, and even broke out the collision viewer. They are Ashlu, Brando Music, The Box Links, Tor, and Willy Zinger. Couldn't have done it without them. Speaking of thanking people, here are all of our top supporters, whether they be YouTube members, Twitch subs, or patrons on Patreon. And I'd like to thank each and every single one of them. You help keep this channel going. If you would like to watch our challenge videos early and get your name displayed at the end of the video like this, then please consider becoming one of these yourself. The links are all down below. Thank you. If you'd like to see all of the other Spyro challenge runs we've made, the playlist will be linked on screen now. Or how about something a little bit different, like beating Crash Bash 200% in co-op mode all by myself? Well, that's all the Spyro games, every single one of them, so I think it's time to move on. Almost like a new beginning, you know?